My wife demanded an open relationship, but only for her. My wife threatened divorce if I didn't agree that she could be with other men while I remained faithful. I am John, 34, and we had been together for 15 years when everything fell apart. She was 19 when we met. I was 23. She had never been with anyone else. I had had a couple of girlfriends before. We got married and had two sons who are now 5 and 7. We had always talked openly with each other about sex, about everyday life, about everything. That was one of the best things about our relationship. I was satisfied from day one, and over the years it only got better. Or so I thought. About 6 months before everything exploded, Sarah started to change. She became easily irritated, closed off. When I asked what was wrong, I got no real answer. I assumed it was work. She has a middle management position that sometimes puts a lot of pressure on her. I tried to give her space. Our intimacy decreased in frequency, but when it happened, it was still good. I thought this would pass. Then came the Christmas party at her job. I saw her flirting with a colleague. It wasn't outright obscene, but it surprised me. She had never done anything like that before. What stood out the most was that she did it right in front of me, and that she really seemed to enjoy it. A lot. On the way home, I brought it up. I said I felt uncomfortable, and asked why she had done it. At first, she didn't want to explain herself, but eventually it came out. She enjoyed feeling attractive and getting attention from other men. It stung. I had never thought she had that need. I asked where this was coming from since she had never mentioned anything like it before. She said it had emerged recently, over the past 6 months or so. That lined up exactly with when she started behaving differently. I asked if she had done more than flirt. She said no. I asked if she wanted to do more. She hesitated, only for a second, but long enough for me to notice. Then she said no. I had known my wife for many years. She had no poker face. I pushed a bit, but she insisted she didn't want that. The conversation ended there. I was very uncomfortable but trusted that she hadn't done more. After that conversation, our intimacy returned to a more normal frequency. I thought we had moved past it. A week later, we were lying in bed after being intimate when she bluntly asked if I could imagine sharing her with other men. I was shocked. My immediate answer was no. She looked irritated that the answer came so quickly that I didn't think it through. She asked why. I explained that first of all, we were married, and that means giving up others. Second, I would never be able to handle it mentally. It would break me. She kept pushing. She argued that it could strengthen our relationship by letting her explore this side of herself, that she would feel more whole and satisfied, that it was just sex and nothing that threatened our marriage, that many couples did this and felt good about it, that I could see it as a gift to her since she had sacrificed so much for the family. I refused and asked again if she really hadn't done anything with anyone. She said no, and this time it looked like she was telling the truth. But suddenly I wasn't sure anymore. I asked why this was so important. What she was talking about was just sex, nothing else. It came out that she had never been with anyone else and that it had started to feel very difficult, as if she was missing something everyone else had experienced. I tried to explain that sex with strangers without emotional connection is not nearly as fulfilling as with someone you love. She didn't seem convinced. From that evening on, she kept nagging. Every day it came up in some way. Her arguments were basically the same every time. My answers were also the same. No. This went on for several weeks until she said she was considering divorce if she didn't get what she wanted. Now I had to choose. I had never thought it would go that far. I didn't want to lose her. I didn't want my sons to grow up with shared custody. After several days of thinking, I decided to set conditions. I suggested that she could find a man and get it out of her system for 1 month. But routines at home could not be disrupted. She would be home when the children were home, discreet. No meetings in our home, no romantic feelings, no trips, no weekends away. She would use protection and get tested for diseases afterward before we were intimate again. If I couldn't handle it, she would stop immediately and we would evaluate. Full transparency. She was not allowed to hide anything if I asked. She was happy, very happy. She accepted all the conditions, but thought a month was too short. I said this was a huge concession on my part. If it really was the experience she wanted, a month would be more than enough. My hope was that it would be enough, and then we could put it behind us. But I realized the risk was high that my feelings would crush me. I warned her about that. I asked if she already had someone in mind. She said yes. I was shocked. She had said she hadn't taken any steps in that direction. She defended herself by saying she hadn't talked to the man, just thought he would be a good fit. I calmed down a bit. There was a chance he would say no. The next day, she told me the man had said yes. That made me suspect she had already talked to him. Who agrees to something like that on the spot? Now it became real, and my emotions hit me like a hammer. I have always been good at regulating emotions, but now I had serious problems. I went from happy to angry to sad within minutes. I had enormous difficulty concentrating. The first evening, she was home with the family while the children were awake. But as soon as they fell asleep, she dressed up and said she was going to him. She didn't say his name. I didn't ask. She was excited and bubbling with happiness. I asked if she had protection with her. She assured me she did. Then she left. I ended up in our bedroom where I broke down. After several hours of crying, I fell asleep from exhaustion. I woke up to someone opening the front door. She was home after 6 hours. It was 4 in the morning. I pretended to sleep when she came in. I didn't want to talk to her. Day 2. In the morning, I slipped away before she woke up. At 9, I got a text where she wished me good morning and asked when I would be home. I answered 6 in the evening. She didn't ask how I was feeling. That struck me as strange. She knew how hard this was for me. The least one could expect was a question. I said 6, but I felt so sick that I couldn't stay at work. My thoughts were spinning, and I had a sense of impending doom in my body. I went home. She wasn't there. I lay down and fell asleep. When she came home, she had the children with her. It was around 3 o'clock. I asked how her day had been, and it came out that she had faked being sick at work and gone to him. Second day in a row. I didn't say anything about it. I tried to focus on the children. When the children fell asleep at 8, she dressed up again and left. Third time in 48 hours. I felt terrible. She was almost obsessed. I went into the bathroom where I vomited. I spent the rest of the evening in bed in the fetal position. She never came home that night. I drove the children to school. Later in the morning, I got a text where she wished me good morning. I asked where she had been during the night. She replied with a drooling smiley. I didn't respond. That evening, I wasn't happy. I pointed out that she had broken the agreement by breaking the family routines. The deal was that the children should not notice anything and that everything should be normal for the family. By not coming home, the children started asking for her in the morning, and I had to lie. Both of us was always home when they woke up. Always. Everyone was home then. She didn't apologize. She didn't think it was a breach of the agreement. I said I wanted to end this. It was too mentally taxing, and now rules had been broken. She said we could talk about it the next morning because she had promised to go to him again. I said I did not agree to that due to the rule violations, and according to our agreement, I had the right to stop at any time. She refused. At 9 in the evening, she left again. This time, she came home during the night. The following evening, she didn't go out. We spent the entire evening and part of the night talking. I said this wasn't working and that I wasn't doing well. I considered her obsessed and asked why she had gone 4 times in 3 days. This was only supposed to be about her experiencing something new and then being able to settle. Not that it would take up all her free time. She said it was new and admitted she had been swept up in it, but only because it was an absolutely fantastic experience. I pointed out that we hadn't even hugged since this started and that she hadn't asked how I was feeling. It didn't feel like she cared about my well-being. Everything was about her experience. She said she hadn't meant to ignore me, but that maybe she hadn't thought about it since I had approved it. I asked if she had talked to the man in advance since he hadn't needed even a day to say yes. She tried to deny it, but eventually admitted that she had talked about meeting him alone at his place many months before she got my approval. She assured me nothing had happened before I said okay. She argued for continuing, but I had made up my mind. I wanted it to end. I didn't feel I could trust her anymore, but she refused. She said she would either continue for the rest of the month or she wanted a divorce. I chose divorce. It shocked her. She looked like a deer in headlights. I said I would file the papers during the week and that from now on she could consider herself single, and I would do the same. I filed the papers the same week. Since we have children together, the process moved slowly. Since she refused to sign, it took even longer. But she still chose to see herself as single and sleeping with him every night. That didn't make sense to me. Why refuse to sign if she was going to act as if she were single anyway? It was incomprehensible, but I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. I gave my lawyer power of attorney to handle everything so I wouldn't have to. There was a lot of crying from both sides. She was extremely upset, but she never offered to stop seeing the other man. Not at any point. When I gave her her single life, she was usually not home at night. She slept away all the time. In practice, she was almost never home overnight. I slept alone. I wasn't well, but still extremely much better than the first week. She changed her habits and started sleeping at home all the time after about 2 weeks. She was never with him anymore. She started talking about reconciliation and tried to stop the divorce. She said she didn't need more adventures and was satisfied. When I asked why, she said it wasn't as exciting anymore. I didn't engage in discussions and answered with, "Okay, yeah, I understand." That frustrated and angered her. She scolded me and couldn't understand why I didn't want to discuss it when I would get what I wanted from the beginning. Her attempts at discussion became more and more aggressive. She tried to initiate intimacy, but I practically jumped away. I said I didn't want to do anything more with her. It hit her hard. The following week, I moved out after talking to the children. They were sad and upset. I couldn't explain why, because that would destroy their image of their mother, and I didn't want to do that to them. I had secretly gotten an apartment and could move out fairly easily. I had hired a moving company, and it all went quickly. Standing in my new home felt good. Now I could move on. I would invite the children over as soon as I got things a bit in order. My ex-wife tried to reconcile for almost a year after I moved out, but eventually the attempts became less and less frequent and almost stopped entirely after about a year. She suggests reconciliation from time to time, usually when we pick up and drop off the children when switching weeks. Otherwise, I'm spared. I haven't told the real reason why I left to anyone except my parents. It was good to have their support. I'm doing better, but this left fairly deep marks on me. I haven't been able to bring myself to date yet, a year later, but I don't miss it. Right now, it's nice to know that no one you love can turn on a dime and stab you in the back. The strange thing is how quickly everything changed. For 15 years, we had built something together. 2 children, a home, a life. And then in 6 months, everything collapsed. She went from being my partner to someone I didn't recognize. I often think about when she came home that first night at 4 in the morning, how I lay there pretending to sleep while she crept into bed. I could hear how satisfied she was, how happy, and I lay there having cried for hours. What hurts the most isn't even that she wanted to be with others. It was how little she seemed to care about how I was feeling. She didn't ask a single time during the first days. She was so consumed by her own experience that I didn't even exist. It was as if our 15 years together suddenly meant nothing. When she admitted she had talked to him for months beforehand, it was as if the ground disappeared beneath my feet. How long had she planned this? How long had she been thinking about him while she was with me? All those months when she was closed off and irritated. Was it because she wasn't getting what she wanted? When she got what she wanted and became single, the adventure didn't continue for more than 2 weeks. In the end, the adventure wasn't worth more time than a few weeks, and for that, she destroyed a 15-year relationship. It's astonishing. I don't understand how she thought it would work, that she could leave 4 times in 3 days and think I would handle it, that she could break our agreements and still expect me to stay. It was as if she thought I had no boundaries, that I would always be there no matter how she treated me. But the most shocking thing is that when I said I wanted a divorce, she didn't stop. Apparently, a meaningless adventure was more important than what we had built. My sons sometimes ask why mom and dad don't live together anymore. I say that sometimes things don't work between adults, but that we both love them just as much. They are too young to understand. One day they might ask again when they are older. I don't know what I will say then. I don't miss her. I realized that after a few months. I missed the idea of her. I missed the person I thought she was. But that person apparently didn't exist. Or she stopped existing sometime during those 6 months when everything changed. My parents were shocked when I told them everything. My mother cried. My father became angry. They had always liked Sarah. They saw her as a daughter. It was good to have their support through this. I wonder if I will ever be able to trust someone again in that way. If I will be able to fully open up to someone without being afraid they will turn on a dime.
If you liked this story, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot, and you won't miss out on any future stories. Take care and live your best life.